Chapter 1. Genitaylor. "And what do you think you're doing?" At her voice the three men looked up. If their shaved heads weren't enough evidence of their allegiance, the black man at their feet confirmed it. They eyed Taylor with suspicion and no small measure of lust. She stood at the head of the alley, clad in a costume that wouldn't have looked out of place at a strip club. A masquerade mask, latex gloves to her elbows, and a glossy black bustier with matching panty set that left little to the imagination. Yeah, she was pretty cold. But the nighttime chill wasn't the only thing making her skin prickle. Even from this distance, with the dumpster obscuring her view, she could make out marks of the violence that had been visited on the black man's face, the bruising, the blood. She bit her lip, forced herself to breathe evenly through her nose, in and out. That's what she said. "What's it to you, whore?" challenged one of the skinheads. "Nothing," she replied. As she walked towards them, she threw a little sway into her steps. Too shy to pull off sultry, too gawky to pull off coquettish. She'd harbored no illusions about becoming a seductress overnight. But she'd also realized she had assets that weren't C-cups or a butt like Newton's cradle. Her height, her hair, her slenderness, they added up to a package she could make work, at least as long as she needed it to. She smiled in what she hoped was a coy way. "I just figured you'd be more interested in doing something else than beating up some guy." Now it was a question of standing at just the right angle, making sure the light accented her admittedly meager curves, while cloaking the rest of her in shadow. Mystery had its own allure, didn't it? Didn't it? As if noticing her fear, they stepped over the unconscious man on the ground and started for her. She released the breath she hadn't known she'd been holding. "You got a name?" the same skinhead asked, his voice gruffer than it had been. "Posturing. Two could play at that game." She turned her head to the side demurely, tossing her long black curls over her shoulder. "Call me Double D." "A lot smaller than D's, babe." The other two chuckled, eyeing her chest as well. Taylor let the jab wash over her. She was watching the fronts of their trousers just as intently, and tense spoke louder than words. "Should I take that as a rejection?" she asked, knowing the answer. His grin grew predatory. "Hell no. Not much to grab, maybe, but I think we could have some real fun with you." She could sense the testosterone surging through their veins, could feel the musk gathering thickly in the air. Her eyes stung behind the lenses of her mask. Her hand slid into her knapsack. The men groaned, fingers pausing at belt buckles. They probably assumed she'd brought protection. In a way, they were right. "Trust me," Taylor said, when she had her remote out. "This won't be fun for any of us." She aimed it at the closest Empire member and clicked the bright red button. There was no sound, but the man's whole body locked up as if tased. He collapsed, whimpering and scrabbling at his jugular area. In the gloom, Taylor swore that she saw a charred meatball tumble out of his trouser leg and roll under the dumpster. She would never be able to have pasta with her father again. Trying to focus on something besides the bile rising in her throat, she rounded on the other two skinheads where they had froze. She took aim, the other man's crotch firmly in her crosshairs. One press of a button and she brought him down screaming too. She winced. The screaming was always the worst part. The last of them started backing up, only to trip over his own feet and crash to the ground. Caught between her and a hard brick wall, he babbled out please. "Please," he begged. "Please, please, please, anything but that." Her face softened. She lowered her hand. "All right." He breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, thank God." "Just kidding." Then his nuts exploded.